Hello to my fellow history lovers and people that think if I learned something new today, it will be a good day. I have to do this in two parts because of time limits. So, number one, the question for us is it unpatriotic, as in, is it un-Rwandan, un-German, or un-American to study the darker parts of our history? So, this is why I was thinking about this. I have a friend who's going to visit Africa, and it included Rwanda. And the tour organizer said, oh, you should very definitely visit the Rwandan Genocide Museum. And my friend said, no way, that she and her husband would be too sad. She didn't want to visit that. And the organizer said, we don't see it that way. She said, we see it as honoring how far we've come. The genocide happened in 1994. Okay, that's story number one. Story number two. My husband recently was actually sitting in this chair just trying to read his book. I threw all out this whole question like, what's the line between patriotic, not patriotic to study history, and also the Rwanda example. And he said, well, when he visited the Mobile, Alabama Museum of Slavery, actually that's the colloquial name. The name is actually the Legacy Museum. He said he cried, which was unusual. He and I have been married 30 years, and he's from a farm. He's a corporate lawyer, very calm, cool-eyed, see things as they are. And he said he cried because he couldn't believe what one human could do to another, and that as he left, he thought it's important we see this so that it can't happen again. That's story number two. Story number three. I have a good friend who's German, and she's even younger than I am, but she said she still carries a little bit of a feeling of guilt knowing that her country, Germany, was responsible for the horrors of the Holocaust. Okay, so those are my three stories. So I call up my son, who's actually my college son, trying to get out the door to rugby, but I throw all this out at him, and I said, what do you think about teaching, the darker parts of history? And he said, well, I don't know, Mom. He said, it's probably, there's a line there. He said, maybe if you're fourth grade, you're too young. For one thing, you just want heroes and villains. He said, I think you don't have the bandwidth to really absorb all this. He said, by high school, probably you need to know, the actual factual basis. And then I said, well, what about this? I said, in Germany, there's a program called Stolpersteine, and they put plaques around to remind people. So it's a bit omnipresent that here a family was taken, there a family was taken, to Auschwitz. So that it's always sort of omnipresent of what had happened. And he said, well, I don't know. He said, the people that are alive today, they didn't do it, and it's a different government. He said, I don't know, but Mom, I got to get to rugby. So I had a thought that I didn't get to share with him, but I'll share with you and see what you think. So we're going to go on to part two.